Because nobody tells you that a healthy relationship can actually feel uncomfortable at first. It's like something's missing. Because if you've spent your years in toxic, chaotic, emotionally exhausting relationships, and then you finally land in a healthy one, your brain doesn't know what to do with it. I mean, there's no drama, no games, no walking on eggshells. I mean, what? There's just peace? And somehow, that's the scariest thing of all. Hello, hello. Welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome to the Kathy the Panda podcast. I'm your host, Kathy, your friendly neighborhood bipolar girl just finding her way through life. Now, before we start anything else, I just want you guys to know that this is my first ever podcast video, and I'm sure you guys know that. I did put out a survey on Facebook and Instagram, and a lot of you said to switch to video, so that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah, so I may or may not be awkward somewhere in the middle of this, or maybe in all of this, but yeah, I'm actually very nervous right now. I'm not sure if you guys can tell. I get really conscious in front of the camera, but I really love what we're going to talk about today. And before I jump into our topic for today's episode, if you haven't already, please make sure to follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. So, this is available both on Spotify and Apple Podcast. And if you're enjoying what you're hearing and, well, I guess now what you're seeing, it would mean the absolute world to me if you left a 5-star rating because it genuinely helps more people find the show. And leave a comment too because I love reading them. Not that I get a lot of them, but I would like to get more comments in the future because it's just I love that it would be like a way for us to keep the conversation going beyond the episode. And it's with a podcast, it's just me talking to you guys, and unless I put out like some survey on my socials, I'm not really having a conversation with you. So yeah, I really want this to be a two-way kind of thing. So it really does make this whole thing feel like a community. And that's exactly what I want it to be. So yeah, okay. So today we are talking about something that genuinely surprised me. And I mean surprised in a way that makes you stop and think, wait, has this always been an option? Because like nobody told me. We're talking about healthy relationships, specifically what it actually feels like to be in one when you've never really had one before. And, what caught me off guard, what felt strange, what I had to unlearn, and what I've realized about love that I really, really wish I'd known sooner. But before we get into all of that, I have to tell you how Julius and I got here because our story is a lot and I love sharing it. I love it. I absolutely love sharing it with other people. So when people ask me, I'm always so enthusiastic about sharing it. And I'm not sure if he feels the same way because he came into the office um, today where I'm recording and he saw the title of the episode because it was on my screen. And he was like, "Are you talking about me?" And I go, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, that's so embarrassing." But yeah, it's just, he's a very private person. But, unfortunately for him, I'm not. And I'm not gonna, okay, I'm honest in all my episodes, but like, I know where to draw the line. I know what things should be shared and shouldn't be shared, which is kind of shocking to me because I am an oversharer, but I respect his boundaries. Yeah, and he's generally fine with it. He's okay with me posting this. So yeah, we got the green light. So let's get to it. So if you listen to my Damsel in Distress era episode, it was a couple of episodes back. You already know that I got in a really bad accident in 2013. Wait, no, no, no. that's not right. 2023 it was. Yeah, 2023. And that resulted in a broken foot. So I broke my left foot and I had like four broken bones and I couldn't walk for 6 months and I had completely forgotten how to walk. And so I had to relearn that. And so if you haven't listened to that episode, actually just go ahead and go back. I would say it's a pretty interesting episode. So, yeah, but what you might not know is that I also matched with Julius on Tinder that same year. Now, when we first matched, he was doing a motorcycle loop in northern Vietnam. So, we were talking, we were chatting, but he was out there living his best life on a motorbike somewhere in the mountains, the beautiful, beautiful mountains of Vietnam, while I was stuck at home with a broken foot. So it was two very different energies. And then so Julius actually got into a little accident himself when he got back to Hanoi. And, it was nothing serious, thankfully, but there was blood and there were stitches. And he also has his battle scars. But it was, at that time, enough to completely change his travel plans. So let me just share. He had originally planned to bike all the way down to Saigon, but because of the crash, he decided to stay in Hanoi instead. And that's when we decided to meet up. Now, little Miss Broken Foot over here was in full Rapunzel stuck in her tower mode. So naturally, I invited him over to my apartment for dinner. Sounds very safe. Yeah, sure, invite a stranger to your home, right? But yeah, so we ordered Korean food, and because you know what? What else was I going to do? Like, I couldn't exactly go anywhere. So yeah, he came over and we clicked immediately and he spent the night, but we didn't sleep with each other that night. And not that there's anything wrong with that. Like, have done that in the past, but we're not gonna be slut shaming around here. So yeah, and things went really well. The conversations were just naturally flowing. It was a nice vibe. And then, so the next day, his Airbnb host messaged him saying that the place that he rented had been accidentally double booked. And so he asked Julius to move out, basically. So, in what I can only describe as a very catty decision, I offered him to stay at my place indefinitely. And he did. And he ended up staying for around 6 months. And a part of that was because I wouldn't let him leave. Now, I don't mean like I tied him to the bed or anything. I am not that crazy, but like I kept asking him to extend his trip and he agreed and he did want to stay longer. Now here's the thing. So when we matched on Tinder, neither of us was looking for anything serious. At that time, I had totally given up on dating. And I was just like looking for something casual, looking for something fun, whatever. I want to be very clear about that. And honestly, of course, I wasn't expecting anything serious with him, especially because I knew from the get go that he was just traveling. He was just a traveler. And he was just here, as people would say, here for a good time, not a long time. I don't know, I used to see that a lot in Tinder and Bumble bios of travelers. And yeah, it wasn't in his bio, but that's how the saying goes. So anyway, he had places to be. He had a whole route planned, a bike, an itinerary, and honestly, he didn't really have a reason to stay. So we're both just seeing what was out there, no expectations, no agenda. And then somehow, without really planning it, things got really serious really fast. And so when Julius was getting ready to leave Hanoi to go back home to the US, we had a really emotional and tough conversation about what we were and what we were doing and what was going to happen. It was one of those conversations that had to be done. It was necessary, but it was hard and it was a little terrifying, all at the same time. And the conclusion we came to, long story short, was that he would go home, work for a bit, save some money, and then come back to Hanoi to be with me. So we did long distance for 4.5 months. And honestly, it was so, so hard for both of us. Not just me, not just him. Long distance, it is its own kind of challenge. And I don't think anything fully prepares you for it. But we made it work the best way we could. So we always kept our lines open. We FaceTimed every day without fail every day. No matter the time difference, no matter how tired we were, the daily FaceTime was our anchor. And it was the thing that kept us connected. When we couldn't be in the same place. And you know what? I think that consistency, that showing up for each other every single day, even when it was hard, said a lot about what we were building. So we got through it. He came back, and here we are. Now, since things got serious between us, our main challenge has always been, drum roll please, my jealousy. And I know that's kind of embarrassing to admit and to just put out there, but it is what it is. And before y'all come at me and tell me to stop being so insecure, let me just remind you that all three of my exes cheated on me. All three of them. It's like, do I have a sign on my forehead that says cheat on me? Because it seems like that's the case. So, of course, I had trust issues. Of course. That's not insecurity. Honestly, I think that's self preservation built from real experiences. But I would say we are in a much better place now. And I can't say honestly that I'm completely healed. I can just say that at this very moment, I'm just not triggered. And when I'm triggered, that's another conversation we'll have to have in the future. It's a topic for another episode, okay? And another big challenge we had to work through was my health. And if you've listened to my Healthy Girl Era episode, which was fairly recent, y'all already know the full story there. But in short, for those who haven't listened to it, I was really struggling with my health for a long time. And it came to a point where it affected our relationship a lot more than I initially admitted. Because it wasn't just my physical health, it was my mental health. I was gone, I was a completely different person. So we've talked about it, we've worked through it, and we're doing so much better. And look, I wouldn't say we have a perfect relationship because, hello, does that even exist? I don't think so. But when you are genuinely happy with your partner and your relationship, even when you know that you have your highs and your lows, it almost feels like it's perfect. You get, but we see the ins and outs of our relationship. So I personally can tell you it's not perfect. And even if it's not perfect, I still feel lucky and so blessed to be in something healthy and loving and real. Which brings me to what I actually want to talk about, which is, well, sorry for the long intro. That was a bit much, but yeah, being with Julius has taught me something I genuinely did not know before him. Relationships, healthy relationships, exist. I know, I know that sounds like an obvious thing to say, but when you've only ever been in toxic relationships, when chaos and jealousy and even uncertainty and being cheated on is all you've ever known, you don't actually know what it's like to be treated right. I mean, you think you do, but you don't. Not really. And until it actually happens to you, you don't know. And I never realized what it was like to be with someone who is just consistently good to you until Julius. And that realization, that shock, honestly, is what this whole episode is about. So let me paint you a picture of what I thought love was supposed to look like before Julius. I thought love was supposed to feel intense, like overwhelmingly, all consumingly, over the top intense. The kind of love that makes your heart race and your stomach drop and your brain go completely offline. The kind where you never quite feel settled because you're always a little bit on edge, always wondering, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. I thought, genuinely, I thought that was passion. I thought that was what it meant to really feel something. And I thought emotional chaos was just normal. Like, of course, relationships are hard. Of course, there's drama and fighting and uncertainty and just days where you don't know where you stand. That's just what relationships are. That's love. Except it's not. That's not love. That is anxiety wearing love's clothes. And I didn't know the difference because I had never seen the alternative up close. And when you grow up watching certain relationship dynamics, and when every relationship you've ever been in follows the same chaotic pattern, you start to think that's just how it goes. That the highs and the lows and the emotional roller coaster, they're all part of the package. And that, if it's not a little bit painful, then it's not real. And that belief, that quiet, unexamined belief, followed me into every relationship I had until Julius. Because nobody tells you that a healthy relationship can actually feel uncomfortable at first. It's like something's missing. Because if you've spent your years in toxic, chaotic, emotionally exhausting relationships, and then you finally land in a healthy one, your brain doesn't know what to do with it. I mean, there's no drama, no games, no walking on eggshells. I mean, what? There's just peace? And somehow, that's the scariest thing of all. So, when things started getting serious with Julius, I kept waiting for it. The chaos, the drama, the things that would make it feel, familiar, because that was what I was used to. And it just didn't come. And that was the most disorienting feeling because I didn't know how to be in something that wasn't chaotic. Chaos was my life, basically, and it was ingrained in me, and I didn't have a template for it. And so the absence of drama just didn't feel like peace. It felt like something was wrong, like something was missing. Like maybe this just wasn't as real or as intense as the relationships I've had before, which is wild, right? Like this is, the stability felt suspicious to me. That being treated consistently well made me go, wait, what's the catch? But there is no catch. This is just what it looks like when someone is a genuinely good partner. So let me tell you the things that actually surprised me. So, first, the calm communication. This was one of the biggest things because in my past relationships, disagreements were events. And they were emotional, they escalated, they left residue. And with Julius, we can talk about hard things without it becoming a whole thing, without me feeling like I'm walking into a minefield or something. Like we can have a difficult conversation and come out on the other side still okay, still us. And, that was all just very new to me. But I want to be honest here because I used to think I was a good communicator and I was humbled real quick because I generally thought, because when I was dating other men before, and, not specifically a boyfriend, but when I was dating around, I was always honest and upfront about my intentions. And I thought that that meant I was good at communicating. Turns out, not quite. And Julius is the one who pointed this out. Like he didn't like fully and openly and aggressively tell me that, hey, you kind of suck at communicating. But he did notice that whenever we had a fight, I would shut down. Like I would go completely silent, give him the silent treatment. And, in my defense, I only do that because I don't want to say anything hurtful. Hurtful words, when you say them, you can't take them back. and the damage has been done. And also, I don't want to say something and make a decision or have conversations when I'm really emotional because I know myself and I won't handle it well. So I shut down as like a form of self regulation. That was at least my logic. But Julius wouldn't let that be. He would insist on talking things through, so he'd ask me questions, give me prompts, just like little openings so I could actually express what I was feeling instead of just going quiet and leaving him in the dark. And some might feel or say, like, hey, he's being too pushy, like he's not respecting your space or whatever. But through him refusing to let silence just be the answer, I learned that communication is, very important and that this is what it looks like in a relationship. And it's not just about being honest about your intentions upfront. And, it's willing to stay in the hard conversations to work through everything together instead of shutting the door. And that was very new for me. And it changed everything. Next, I would have to say is consistency. Julius is the same person every single day. Like every day he wakes up, he's the same exact person I knew every day. And I don't say that to say that there is no growth in him because of course, I have seen him change for the better as we stayed together for longer. But he's very consistent. He doesn't run hot and cold, and he doesn't make me feel like loved one day and then uncertain the next. Like, I always knew where I stood with him. I always knew how he felt about me, whether, he loved me, whether he was upset with me. He was just very open and vulnerable, and he would just be completely 100% authentically him. He just shows up consistently. And I didn't know how much I needed that until I had it. Next would be emotional safety. Now, this is super important. And knowing that I can say what I feel without it being used against me, or knowing that I can be vulnerable without becoming a liability is something I never truly experienced in a relationship before. And you know what? It changes everything. It changes how you communicate, how you fight, how you love, and how you let yourself be loved. And I want to add something here that feels really important to say out loud. Julius and I have had big fights, real ones, the kind where it's hard, feelings are hurt, and it's just not pretty. Like things can get pretty ugly. I'll be honest. But in all of that, he has never once raised his voice at me, never cursed at me, and never put a hand on me. And I know that should be the bare minimum, right? I know that. But when you grow up in a household where there was domestic violence and when there was, you know, a part of what you saw and experienced growing up was all that hostility, the bare minimum isn't just something you take for granted. It's something you notice, something you feel grateful for in a way that's hard to explain unless you've been there yourself. There is something incredibly comforting about knowing that no matter how heated things get, I am safe. And I'm not just saying like physically safe, because like I said, he's never laid a hand on me, but also emotionally safe. That I don't have to brace myself for something. That the person I love is someone I never have to be afraid of. And the peace of mind that comes with that, that comes with just that safety is priceless. And I don't think I fully understood how much I needed that until I had it. Next is mutual respect. Feeling like my opinions matter, like my boundaries are heard, like I'm an equal in this relationship and not someone who has to earn their place. These things also, they sound so basic. I know, because they are basic. Let's face it. They should be the baseline of any relationship. But when you've never had them, they feel like a revelation. Also, I want to point out that the adjustment period is real. Because even when you're in something genuinely good, it takes time to trust it, especially when your history has taught you not to. Not needing to guess what someone feels. In my past relationships, I was constantly reading between the lines, trying to decode moods and silences and, one word texts, trying to figure out where I stood on any given day. And with Julius, he just tells me what he feels, what he's thinking, what he needs. And I had to learn how to receive all that because I kept waiting for the subtext that just wasn't there. Now, not worrying constantly about losing him. I said I was a very jealous type. So of course the idea of him cheating on me has crossed my mind a million times. Or even just the fact that I might lose him, naturally. But, this one took a long time because again, my default setting in relationships is always low level anxiety. That constant background hum, of like, is this okay? Are we okay? Is he going to leave me? Or is he going to replace me with someone else? Or is he going to cheat on me? I have had those thoughts. It's just messing with my head a lot. But, with Julius, that hum is so much quieter now. I mean, in the beginning of our relationship, it was louder, it was wild. But as we grew together, and honestly, I feel like I've changed for the better emotional maturity wise. And so those voices in my head are a little bit quieter now. It hasn't disappeared completely. Obviously, as I've mentioned multiple times in this episode, I do have a lot of jealousy issues. But that's a me problem. But then again, that's a conversation for another episode. It's just it's quieter and learning to sit in that quiet without, filling it with fear has been its own kind of work. Stability feeling strange is another thing. Probably one that surprised me the most about myself that when things were going well, like genuinely well, like no drama, no crisis, a part of me didn't know what to do with it, with that calm because I've never had that. It's never been my normal. And so that calm felt like the calm before a storm. I kept bracing myself for something that never came. And slowly, slowly, I'm learning to just let it be good, to not sabotage the peace because it feels unfamiliar, and to trust that something can be good without a catch. So what have I actually learned from all this, from being in something healthy for the first time? First is peace is not boring. I cannot say this enough because I think many of us, especially those who grew up around chaos or, who have been in chaotic relationships, have confused peace with boredom. Like if it's not intense or dramatic or, a little bit painful, it must not be that deep. But you know what? Peace is not boring. Peace is what lets you actually be present with someone. It's what lets you sleep so soundly at night. Peace is what lets you build something instead of consistently putting out fires. Peace is what a relationship feels like when it's actually working. And I'll take peace over drama any day. Any day. Emotional maturity matters so much more than I ever give it credit for. The ability to communicate without shutting down or blowing up, the ability to hear something hard without making it about your ego, the ability to apologize genuinely and actually mean it. These are things that make or break a relationship. Not chemistry, not intensity, emotional maturity. Because relationships require effort, not chaos. And I used to confuse the two. Like if I wasn't working really hard to hold something together, it must not be worth having. There's a difference between the effort of growing together and just the exhaustion of trying to keep something from falling apart. And one builds you up and the other wears you down. And I know which one I'd rather be in. So yeah, I think for a long time I believed that the love I experienced was just what love was, and that the chaos and the hurt and the uncertainty were the price of admission. And then Julius came along and showed me, just by being who he is as a person and as a partner, that that's not true. That you can feel deeply for someone and also feel safe. That passion and peace can exist in the same relationship. And you know what? I never realized what it was like to be treated right until I met him. And I think that's something a lot of people can relate to. Not knowing what you were missing until you finally have it. And I've said this a million times, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to keep repeating myself because that's just the way it is. And again, we don't have a perfect relationship. Julius, when I told him about this episode, when he caught me actually working on this episode, I told him that I would not divulge the super serious topics that are meant to be kept in private. But he was like, "Oh, but you kind of have to keep it real. Like, don't paint the wrong picture about us." And we have problems, okay? Again, I cannot say it enough. We are not perfect. We are a normal, I want to say normal, healthy relationship. And honestly, like I said, I don't think perfect relationships exist. And that's okay because we have something real and honest and loving and good. And for someone who spent years thinking that chaos was just part of the package, that means everything. So, guys, healthy relationships exist. That's the whole point of this. I know the dating pool is ridiculously insane right now. Like, it's so hard to find a good partner, but believe me, I am living proof. I promise you, your healthy relationship is coming to you. So, yeah, before I go, I just want to say thank you. Like, really, thank you for spending some of your time with me today. I know you probably have a million things you could be doing, and it's a Monday. Mondays are crazy. And the fact that you chose to sit with me for a little while genuinely means so much to me. And, whether you're listening to the audio podcast or watching this video, I really appreciate it. And I, I don't take it lightly. And yeah, um, I know that time is gold, time is a currency. So again, um, I also just want to encourage you to leave me a comment because I've only ever had a few comments in the past and I do read them and they absolutely make my day. And I'm hoping to hear from you guys because, again, like I said, I want this to be a conversation, an exchange. This is a safe space for everyone. This is your space too. It's not just mine. So, yeah, tell me what resonated, tell me what you thought, tell me about your own experiences with love and relationships, anything. Tell me anything. I want to hear from you. And speaking of, what do you guys want me to talk about next? And I don't mean next, like next episode, because I already have one lined up and I have actually a million episodes lined up for the next couple of weeks. But, I have some solo episodes and guest episodes coming up, and I'm super excited to have people come on the show. That'll be super exciting. But going back, I would love to hear from you guys to know what you're looking to hear or to know or whatever, because, honestly, this topic actually came from that. So if you follow me on Instagram or if we're friends on Facebook, I posted this anonymous link asking you guys what you wanted me to talk about. And someone actually asked me to talk about my relationship and how I met Julius. So I slipped that in a little bit in this episode. But yeah, that was actually a really, really fun and interesting experience because I did get a lot of weird messages, but it's a good way to interact with you guys. And I just want to give you guys what you asked for. And so, as they say, ask and you shall receive. So, just go ahead and ask and request. Again, you can reach me through my DMs, through my email, which is in the About section of this podcast, or through the comments, or through a smoke signal. I don't know. Yeah, or actually, I'm thinking of just posting that anonymous link every week. I think that would be a good idea because I think maybe some of you guys are shy because the messages that you send me when you get to be anonymous can be a bit interesting. Let's use that word, interesting. So again, it was entertaining and interesting, so I'm not mad at it. Yeah, so let's do that anonymous link every week and just let me know because again, this is your space too, and I genuinely want to keep the conversation going. So yeah, that's it for this episode, and I will catch you on the next one. Until then, sending love, life, and hope your way. Bye.